Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout.
It's about to go down.
Yes, you are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports is Ordered, brought to you by the one and only world-renowned, world-famous. He is Mr. Logical. I am your unorthodox statistician, 2-5. Tonight, of course, it's Friday, so we got picks, and more picks. NFL, college, we're going to talk a little bit more Lane Kiffin, because by the day, the story just keeps growing. But like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things with a liquid death in your hand. And let's get right to it. So, Mr. Logical, this is it, man. You know, if Kansas City didn't have a Native American nickname, I would call this Custard's Last Stand. You know, but Indianapolis is coming in off the bye week. Kansas City got helped out a little bit last night because Buffalo lost. But I guess
think they got that much help. I think it would have worked the other way if Texas would have lost, if Houston would have lost.
It might have, but I mean, it would have been the same scenario. But, you know, I think that you feel more comfortable with Buffalo losing and, you know, like I think you feel comfortable trying to hold Houston off than trying to hold Buffalo off. I put it like that. You know what I mean? But the Colts are coming in. So what happens, Mr. Logical? Can Kansas City right the ship?
Torn.
Okay.
Between logic and Kansas City just doesn't go under 500 this late in the year.
Okay.
Which technically could be a logical summation because in the Mahomes era, I don't think they've been this close to 500 this late in the year. Like probably the closest they might have been is maybe a 6-4 year, something like that. I don't ever recall them ever being 5-5 since he's been elevated to the starting role. It's at Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
It's at home, backs against the wall. And I believe they'll be able to create scenarios where Daniel Jones makes more mistakes than Indy's just basic run game and defense causing Mahomes problems. So I think that's the difference in the game. I think the run game I think Jonathan Taylor's going to get his. It's going to be a struggle, but I can still see him going over 100 yards, maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns. But I think the crucial 3rd and 11s that come about, because it will happen where the Kansas City defense just bucks up and they make a couple of stops. I think that's when the tides turn. I say it's low scoring, not really like an average score, like maybe a 24-20 Kansas City victory. I just think they just force Daniel Jones into something because that's the only, for lack of a better word, like weak link, I think, on the field. I know Kansas City has been playing well, but all it takes is for Mahomes to hit Thornton or Xavier Worthy or Rashee Rice on one of those deep routes, whether it's a crossing route, a route that's over the top, or one blown coverage. He'll take advantage of that. So I think you can count on that happening at least once or twice, whereas I think you can count on Daniel Jones maybe getting the ball knocked out, taking a bad sack on 3rd down, or just like an ill-timed interception.
Yeah, see, I'm glad you brought that up because, of course, you know, a couple of weeks ago, the Colts had the game against Pittsburgh where everything just kind of hit the fan. but Pittsburgh wasn't necessarily good enough to just punish them. Like they won the game, but the Colts still had opportunities late in that game. So in the last 2 games that the Colts have played, Daniel Jones has 4 interceptions, 6 fumbles, lost 3 of those, and he's been sacked 12 times. So that's where you get into what you're talking about. And it just came out a little earlier today that he's dealing with a calf injury as well. Like he's going to play and everything, but that's a detrimental injury for someone like him who you use his legs for deception. You keep the defense a little bit honest by allowing him to take advantage of open space. So I agree with you that Jonathan Taylor's going to get his, and I think that might be the problem for Kansas City because this type of game is lining up in a way that just doesn't speak well to Kansas City, because when you look at the trends, Kansas City hasn't lost 3 in a row with Mahomes in the regular season. So, so when you look at it that way, it's like, okay, there's something to work with here. But the Colts are getting Charvarius Ward back, so that's another corner that is going to be able to keep up with these receivers. He's the best corner on the team, not named Sauce, and they just brought in Sauce, of course. So I do think that Travis Kelce will be able to find some work over the middle. The other problem is that Kansas City doesn't run the ball effectively, because not to be cliche, but, when you're talking about games like this, you usually say something along the lines of, well, the best defense is a good offense. If you keep them off the field, they can't score. But Kansas City can't run the ball well enough to employ that type of game plan. So I'm going to pick them, but it's literally just because in my mind, I'm just like, the Chiefs can't go out like that. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with football, outside of Daniel Jones's injury. And the Colts they are
I think that's the only thing you pick out. I mean, maybe you can lean towards them maybe taking a shot at Sauce Gardner at home. He gets a little grabby, because what I noticed in the Buffalo game, Buffalo had Harrison, who also ran a 4.2. So a couple of go routes they threw to Xavier Worthy were washes because that guy could keep up with Worthy.
Right.
I don't think Sauce runs a 4.2. And because he's been in the league for some years, he's probably going to try to play certain tendencies. He might jump something. I just think that you might take a couple of shots at him with your speed guys, and maybe you get a call just because you're in Kansas City. Because he's known to get grabby late in the route. So maybe, like, that's the thing. Like, you talk about running the ball. I think Indy can run the ball. I'm just not sure that every drive will be like effectively like just running the ball. Like in Cleveland, you can count on Myles Garrett to wreck plays every single drive. You can just book it. I think Jonathan Taylor, a couple of good runs. They run a play action. Daniel Jones, you said he's on a bad calf. That rollout, and Bolton's right on him on the rollout. The ball gets fumbled. Kansas City gets the ball at the 48-yard line. Little things like that I think will impact the game. And that's where momentum is going to turn, because I saw a game a couple weeks ago with Mahomes. He was he wasn't having a good go of it. And it was one blown coverage. And he got to that back foot and he saw it early and he let it fly. Big gain. I think that's the kicker. I believe he's going to take advantage of these downfield shots.
Well, I think, and that's what I was going to say. Like, Indianapolis's defense is known to give up a big play or two over the top. And, Kansas City, they're 0-5 in these close games this year. But we know that, well, I'll speak for myself. I still trust Patrick Mahomes in that part of the game more than I would Daniel Jones. So from that standpoint, as long as Kansas City doesn't have to play comeback, like, the good news is the Colts don't have a good pass rush per se. So it's not as if the way that he was under duress against Denver, that's not going to be present here. You blitz, Kelsey's going to have 8 catches for 93 yards. Yeah. And then another small note here, might not be a small note, but Lou, Anaromu, the defensive coordinator for Indianapolis Colts, we talked about this in the offseason. He came over from Cincinnati. So even though Cincinnati's defense isn't anything to write home about, he's got experience against the Chiefs, and in big moments too. So he should know their tendencies, better than most defensive coordinators that they would go up against. That's not in their division. And then the last thing I'll say about it is Chiefs done had the bye week. So I expect Spags to get in his bag now. The season is on the line. There's no reason to hold anything back. There's no reason to get cute. Just find what works and just bludgeon them. So that's why I'm gonna go with Kansas City. I like your score 24-20, but I was thinking more along the lines of like a 27-21 kind of game. But either way, the last thing that the only reason that I am kind of hesitant to pick the Chiefs is because the Chiefs are favored, and I was trying to figure out, outside of being an Arrowhead, why are the Chiefs favored?
I think they're probably factoring the same things that we mentioned. Daniel Jones had a bad couple of weeks. Kansas City's played some tough defenses in the last couple of weeks. And even in those games where they were having, a tough go of it, they had a shot each time.
Right.
The Buffalo game, if the defense could have held, obviously, but Mahomes had a couple of shots into the end zone. Granted, they had, Buffalo was perfectly positioned on one of them, but he had a couple of shots even in the terrible game. And I don't know if the Colts get up the way Buffalo and Denver do for Kansas City. Like, Buffalo plays them all the time. They've seen they know the look in Bolton's eyes when he's going to blitz. They know what Tranquil does when he's coming. Like, I think they just know from being on the other side. Like, you can look at the all 22 and break down the film, but Josh Allen knows, I've seen this formation before. I know where the pressure's coming from. So is Buffalo. Denver, same thing. They play him a couple times a year over the last few years with Sean Payton. So he knows it a little differently. I don't know if the Colts ramp up to play them the same way the last two opponents have.
Yeah, and I think that Steichen handicaps them at times too, because there's times where he forgets that he does have Jonathan Taylor. So, that could come back to bite him too if they try to.
Yeah, Daniels, he threw like 50 something passes in that Pittsburgh game.
Yeah. So if they get to a point where they're trying to go tit for tat with Kansas City, that's not going to end well. So yeah, I like the Colts in this game. But then we take it over.
The Chiefs.
I'm sorry, the Chiefs. Then we take it over to Arlington. NFC Beast battle. The Philadelphia Eagles coming off of these last couple of weeks of defensive games. They're coming up against these two receivers, the one team in the league that has the double trouble at receiver that could get their secondary in trouble. We saw this week one. They, the first half, they went up and down the field on each other. And then halftime came, we had the delay and things just kind of stalled out. Close game still. Can Dallas pull the upset?
It's there for them to upset Philly because all the noise, all the chatter around each team, which is always something with Dallas. Dallas always has an ancillary conversation that's, different than football. There's always something going on in Dallas. There's an emotion. And they have the raw emotion of having lost a teammate a couple of weeks ago. So that's another piece. Philly has this weird locker room thing again. Like, they go Super Bowl, weird locker room mood, Super Bowl victory, weird locker room mood. It's like we're going to say, don't never look a gift horse in the mouth.
Yeah.
They have everything you need to be a championship front runner. Like, I was thinking about it earlier about all the teams that don't have all these pieces and how they're just like, we're here for checks. We're here to sell out the stadiums if we can, and we're here for checks. Philly on both sides of the ball they have definitively 5 players on each side of the ball that another team would trade a first-round pick for, no questions asked. That's 10 players at least. And I'm just thinking like skill position. I bet 1 or 2 of the offensive linemen at the right age are worth first-round picks. So everything's there for Philly just to be like, yo, Dallas is not on our level. We're going to pick them apart. But with Philly's mood, you don't know what you're going to get traveling from Pennsylvania to Texas. I'm going to pick him just because football-wise, I think it makes the most sense. I think because they can attack from so many levels. Like they sneakily have like a little 3-headed monster at running back, even though Saquon is having, a down year. You can't miss
AJ Brown reminded us of that, like, hey,
and like you bring that up. The video it like brings more context to light than the quote.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and this is obviously I don't talk to my NFL organization. I think what he's saying is like, all of our numbers are down. There's a reason for it. It's not just me complaining about my own individual numbers. It's like collectively, we're out there not doing our jobs. And he's becoming like the spokesperson. And shout out to Nick Wright for this last piece. He said, he said that he thinks people in their locker room, he's like, not reporting. He just was like, I believe there's people in that locker room who are like thankful that AJ Brown's the guy taking the arrows in this situation, because it is poor. Either it's on the play caller, it's either on the scheme, the head coach. It's on somebody that says, you mean to tell me you got these 5 skill position players and that offensive line, and you're not a guaranteed 24 points in the first 3 quarters?
I mean, I would say
you're 8 points a quarter with that team.
I would say ultimately it always falls on the head coach. That's why, we always had that conversation about Dan Quinn and Kyle Shanahan in the Super Bowl. Not to bring that up for bad memories, but but it's like, yeah, he's the offensive coordinator, but there's a dude over there that can say, stop calling that. There's a dude over there that can say, run the football. There's a
ironically. Kyle Shanahan called the timeout because he didn't like a defensive call when he's a head coach against Kansas City Super Bowl.
Yeah,
but I've seen some NFL film highlights. When Jim, what's the guy's name that got hired in Cleveland that shouldn't have had a job?
You're talking about Jim Schwartz, are you?
No, Jim. He
not Hassel. I don't know.
The heavyset guy. Kind of like a young Andy Reid.
Freddie Kitchens?
Freddie Kitchens, yeah. So when Kyle Shanahan called a play, Freddie Kitchens said something to him like along the lines of like, we're running that. And Kyle kind of made his face like, so I think Kyle was like, listen, let me do the offense. I got it. But then, of course, he vetoed Steve Wilkes.
Right.
But yeah, Sirianni, I believe the wins, I don't say they're hiding behind the wins. They're just relying on the wins as the proverbial medicine in the locker room. Listen, we're winning games. These guys are competitive. Everybody wants to participate. It'll work out. He's just a competitor. And I believe they're like making excuses. I go back to the old, Greg Popovich. Sometimes it's better to miss that buzzer beater.
Yeah,
and have to go back to they haven't missed that buzzer beater. They've hit it every single time they needed to include the LA game.
So to win this game, Dallas has to win first and second down on both sides of the ball. Philly's going to be missing Lane Johnson, and I think that's going to be a big thing. Especially we saw Quinnen Williams on Monday night and how they look. Now, granted, they were playing the Raiders, so I don't want to read too much into it. But with a team like Dallas, I think every little bit of confidence helps out. You know what I mean? They played Philly tough in game 1. Now we also have to remember Jalen Carter got himself ejected out of that game.
Don't spit.
Don't spit. He's here this time. He's here this time. Jalen Phillips is here with the gang. So it's going to be tough sledding for Dallas. But I still think that we saw in that first game of the season how loose George Pickens got. And that's why, like, every week I feel like whenever we talk about Dallas, I ask you, like, hey, where do you put this corner? Does he go with CD or does he go with Pickens? And I think that I'm starting to think that the correct answer is dudes
Pickens.
like Quinyon Mitchell should be guarding Pickens, and you let somebody else handle CD. But regardless of all of that, Dallas ran the ball a lot better, against Philly than I had anticipated in that week 1 matchup.
Jalen Carter was out.
Right. It goes back to Jalen Carter being out, but
the Kobe Dean wasn't there.
Yeah. And he's back. And he's out
back.
here
Brandon
chasing
Graham is
Jahmyr
back.
Gibbs, and doing things like that.
Jalen Phillips is there. Yeah, I think of the two teams who implode on the field, not implode necessarily, but like just to put the team that puts 3 back-to-back, drives together that are poor, more likely, in my opinion, would be Dallas. I think Dallas has the 3 and out, the fumble, and then the drive with like 2 holding calls. Like, I think they have those drives, and then Philly gets 10 to 13 points off of something like that.
I think this is the gut check, because if Philly wins this game, they all but basically wrap up the NFC East, and Dallas had, they're 3 games up. They would have a sweep on Dallas. Then you got the tie, so Dallas definitely needs this game. You got tiebreakers that you've lost, or that you're behind to Carolina and teams like that. So I'm going with Dallas in the upset. I'm going to call Dallas in this game. I'm going to call it 24-21. And, saying, excuse me as I vomit a little bit, but, it is what it is. Objectiveness.
You got to be objective.
Yeah. Then you got
That's why we're a great show.
Then you got Sunday Night Football, out in SoFi. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers still broken up, still no Bucky Irvin. They're coming to get some of the Rams. That's the logical. Obviously the Rams wish they could turn back the hands of time and get that game against Philly back. And they would definitely be atop the NFC with everybody believing and picking them to win the Super Bowl. Can the Rams keep it up?
Yes. I think the injuries, we talk about next man up. The next man was behind the starter because the starter was better. And that could work. Defensive line, maybe the O-line. But when your skill position guys are injured, not fully healthy, guys missing time, you're putting guys on IR. When you're missing that many pieces, and we talk about Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield will play through a torn, insert whatever ligament you want. He's gonna play. So he's definitely probably not out there at 100%. He runs a lot, he gets hit a lot. So 10 games to the season, I'm pretty sure he's, it's probably bumped and bruised. I just think the Rams just get after you. They just flat out get after you up front. They play good defense on the back end, and then they pressure you scoring. Tampa Bay gets the ball first, get a nice drive, don't get points. The Rams march right back down the field, get a touchdown, get the ball back. 4th and 1 from the 49. Like, do you go for it? Like the Dan Campbell syndrome. I think you start pressing because one team's working like a well-oiled machine, and the other team is trying to hold on theoretically to a lead they thought they probably never even be in competition with in the NFC South. Carolina's 6-5. So it's like now Tampa Bay's in a mode where now they're thinking about, okay, our lead in the NFC South, our position in the NFC playoff. Whereas the Rams are like, yo, we're moving and grooving, sliding and vibing. Shout out to Lawrence Johnson for that. And they're at home. They're at home. They're comfortable. They have all their pieces, and their pieces are playing at, Pro Bowl level. So I don't think there's any other reason to pick against it.
And to your point about the Rams playing at home, like, and I like the travel stuff, to look at the travel stuff. Tampa they're coming all the way. They went to Buffalo last week. You know what I mean? Then they went back home, of course, to Tampa. And then you got to go all the way out to LA. That's a lot going on, especially with the injuries going on that we talked about. In addition to the Bucky Irvin injury, the injury that I think might be most important is Jamel Dean. He's Tampa's best corner. So now you're stuck with the rookie, my guy that I like, but he's a rookie, Benjamin Morrison, out there having to chase one of, if not both of, Puka and Devontae.
And Sean McVay is going to see that, and he's going to put them all on the same side.
Yes, and don't forget, Baker was a part of, as Adam likes to say, Camp McVay. So, so you got a situation where Sean McVay knows Baker Mayfield's tendencies, where he has issues with the pressure coming in, things like that. So I think Tampa's only hope in this game is to just get after Matthew Stafford. Like, they just have to constantly be in his face and force him into that gunslinger that he's been most of his career, that he hasn't had to be this season. But what I do expect is the Rams are going to play a lot of dime, and they'll give up some run plays to Tampa, but they're not going to let Baker try to pick them apart. Then on the other side of the ball, I think the Rams are going to do a lot of 13. They're going to get those 3 tight ends out there, and they're going to wear Tampa down and then hit them with a play action or two. So I think that the Rams are going to win this game pretty comfortably, like 2 scores. I'm not saying 2 touchdowns per se, but 2 scores, 10 points.
10 points. I mean, it's there for the Rams to get that. The travel you talk about, it's tough, and I'm not sure if the NFL. I don't know if we broke down every team, like who will really get the short end of the stick, because it's probably the math probably works out that most teams travel about the same amount, except the teams that have multiple games in Europe. That might be a little bit more in that stretch, might be a little bit more. But going from Buffalo back down to Florida, then out to Cali, I know they're flying on a really nice jet. They all get, I saw a video like Jacksonville, like everybody has like business class seats, like oversized seats. And I know it's comfortable, but it has to be a lot to fly back home Sunday night from Buffalo, get to Florida, get to practice on Tuesday, maybe get Monday off, because you got to fly out west. You probably come back to work Tuesday, or you get treatment on Monday, Tuesday. So you don't really get to rest and sit in, rest at home. And then you're on the plane again Friday just to be in place Saturday. Yeah. I know we're talking this, first world problems, but these are people who have to go home, take care of life, and then repack up.
And these are big humans that are beat up. Like, this ain't week 2. You know what I mean? Like, we're in week 12 now. So, you know what I mean? They've been going through this grind all season long. And
12, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8-year, 9-year careers. Like, it's a lot of football.
Right. And then put on top of that you're playing against a team as good as the Rams. So that's the other part of it. Go play Arizona, you know what I mean? You got another division matchup. The Vikings and JJ McCarthy going into Lambeau. Will the real Green Bay Packers please stand up?
I think they're out here point shaving. They're just being unnecessary with their the way they play. It's like, I get it. The Giants are a spunky team. Plucky. Like a noose. It's a gnat in your ear, rock in your shoe. Jameis is just the galvanizer of all galvanizers. But Jordan Love, get your ass out of bounds. Stop trying to take on people who hit people for a living. It's not your job, homie. I know it's your non-throwing shoulder, but it's like, I think he was trying to juke him, and the guy just was he was ready to come down and make the tackle. You're not shifty. He was coming down here to make the tackle. You should have just kept going out of bounds or slid, because your juke got you 1 more yard and a big hit on your shoulder, and you're out. Malik Willis came in. The game looked weird. It looked like, they'll add it that you play down to your competition. I think the Giants played hard. It's just James Winston's the 3rd-string quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think Dayball is as bad of a coach as people make him out to be. I think the Giants just don't have a very good roster. You know, I mean, he's obviously not the second coming of Bill Belichick or something like that, but you know, I think it's a Willie Green situation where, you know, you put this out on the field and want me to be successful with it.
Yeah. Like you should have moved on from me in the offseason and started fresh.
Right.
But you didn't, and now we're in this position. They're like I said, their defense is their defensive line is full of highly touted, talented guys. Brian Burns was, tied for the lead in sacks until, Baltimore decided to just not block Myles Garrett.
Well, as I was thinking about this, and I don't want to keep jumping topics here, but I'm gonna just say this one thing real quick.
Yeah.
So as I was arguing with people the other day on TikTok about Shedeur Sanders, I had a nasty thought. And I was like, the way that y'all are talking about Shedeur and his flaws, those are the flaws that Jordan Love has. You know what I mean? Like Jordan Love is just fortunate enough to have a guy like Matt LaFleur in his corner. But this is the problem that I think the Packers are going to run into in this game. I think Brian Flores is going to dictate what the Packers do. You know what I'm saying? It's like that Joe Budden line. How are you the yard father when I'm dictating where the graves go? So I think Brian Flores is going to make Green Bay run the ball. There's no Josh Jacobs, so Emmanuel Wilson will be taking over. Minnesota can't afford to try to go tit for tat pinball with Green Bay because JJ McCarthy, last in the league. He's last in the league, 53% completion percentage. He's last in the league, touchdown to interception ratio. So they're going to have to condense the game and make it very ugly. Now, the good news for Green Bay is that I'm happy, like as a guy that picked Green Bay to go to the Super Bowl, I'm happy that they're playing Minnesota this week because, in a few days, they go to Detroit for Thanksgiving. So if they were playing someone else, you fear, are they going to be looking ahead? Are they going to have their eyes on Detroit versus the opponent? I don't think you have to worry about that when you're talking about Packers, Vikings. Now, the other thing is Green Bay has to force the issue. They have to get these receivers because we're still, a couple of months removed from Josh Jacobs saying we need a number one receiver. And we still sit here right now, and it looks like Christian Watson might be becoming the best receiver. Yeah.
They have some really good twos.
Yeah.
They have, if Dobbs can hold on to the ball, their games go differently. It seems like he has like really ill-timed drops. I don't think it's like just is his fault, but because they don't have that bona fide number one guy, everything kind of gets exacerbated. Like when Christian Watson can't play because of an injury, it's highlighted even more.
They need Reed back.
They don't have a number one guy. Their Golden's a rookie. So when they go out there and the wide receiver drops the ball, they're like, they don't have a number one guy. And their guy they drafted to be number one in the first round, is a rookie and he's still learning. So like I think it just kind of just adds on like these excuses. But as far as like getting downfield, getting open, Jordan Love finding them, it happens a lot. Like that pass he threw to Christian Watson was like the safety was coming from the inside. They had somebody underneath and the corner was running with them. So it wasn't like triple coverage, but looking downfield, a quarterback, okay, it's three guys that are going to be in that vicinity. But Jordan Love was like, all right, my guy has this much of a step on him. I'm putting it over there in the back corner. He made a great catch. The drive before, he dropped the ball, like just flat out dropped it. So it's up and down. But when it boils down to it, JJ McCarthy is less than 8 games into his NFL career. And that's
a tall task against this team.
And that's a tall task. It's like if he was like physically exceptional, if he had like an extra gear, or if he had like the arm where he could like get the ball to Justin Jefferson no matter what the situation is. Like, granted, this is a crazy comparison, but like Cam Newton as a rookie was just so big that bought him some time. He the way he could move, you knew he could probably shake off at least maybe, somebody he could stand taller in the pocket. He didn't have to bail out. So even as a rookie, because of his physical attributes, allowed him to kind of stand in the pocket a little longer and make the throw. Whereas McCarthy, a little smaller, the pocket starts to collapse. He has to get his eyes down, get out of the pocket, get space, and then look back up. And by then, you're probably being swarmed or chased down by Michael Parsons.
Yeah, so
he's a rookie for criticism. He's a rookie.
So, long story short, Minnesota season ends this weekend. Give me the Packers. Minnesota lose another heartbreaker where they play their heart. The defense plays their heart out, and they just don't get anything from the offense. Okay, 1-point game in Raleigh. All right, so then Monday Night Football, you got a crazy game. Here, let me start this off with a different type of question.
All right.
So that, people talk about, oh, this guy is going up against his former team. He's going to go out for blood and all that kind of stuff like that. How long do you think that lasts? Like
the first game back.
That's it? Okay, so Christian McCaffrey going up against the Panthers on Monday Night Football.
He got traded from Carolina to San Francisco, and they've been to a Super Bowl. I think the beef is over if he had one. Like he's been probably on the field, he's been the best running back. He was the best running back, best dual threat running back in Carolina. They went to a Super Bowl, right? When he was there, or was that after?
I believe it was when he was there.
He might have been there. And then he gets traded to San Francisco, and they've been good the entire time he's been there. So I think there's no animosity. Grudge. Yeah, okay. No animosity.
Okay. Yeah, so Carolina is in playoff position. If they could win this game, they get a tiebreaker on San Francisco. They would both be 7-5, and it's up. You know what I'm saying? Bryce Young, 448 yards passing last week. But where there's good news, there's bad news. Over the last 4 games, Carolina has given up an average of 149 rushing yards per game. We just talked about Christian McCaffrey. Brock Purdy is back. And you know what they did last week? The 49ers put up their highest scoring output of the season. You know what I mean? So, on the road at that. So I think that the 49ers pass defense leaves a lot to be desired, because you look at it, Bosa's out for the year. Warner, we've talked about that. Ward is gone. So, they can be had in the passing game. But so I guess it just comes down to how much can Carolina establish the run and how much can they stop the run?
They probably won't do a great job of stopping the run. And I know Rico Dotto, he didn't have a big game last week against Atlanta. Atlanta's defense plays pretty solid until it's a scramble situation. And I don't know if that's, preparation for the coach. But any kind of hurry up, 4-minute offense, 2-minute offense, it seems like they don't make the right substitutions and they get the wrong guys in the game, they have the wrong guys in the depth chart. I think that's a coaching piece. But they held Rico Dotto pretty much in check. They got to Bryce Young. I don't know how much that ankle is healed. I imagine that it's healed enough between all the gadgets and rehab tools they have in the NFL facility. So he's probably still good on an ankle. But like you said, travel. They got to fly across country again. I still think his size does limit him. And that's why I think most teams take advantage of it, unlike, the team here. Mm-hmm. But I think that we talk about how his record against Atlanta, his winning percentage against Atlanta is a complete 180 what it is from the rest of the league. Because the rest of the league, I think, takes advantage of the fact that he has young wide receivers. They're big targets. But if you get the pressure in his face, he has to, I talk about J.J. McCarthy, he has to get out of the pocket, get the ball out quick, or he has to slide out of the pocket. San Francisco is going to run like a well-oiled machine offensively. Christian McCaffrey's probably going to have about 23 to 24 touches, 18 runs, 6 catches, 20 runs, 4 or 5 catches, something like that. So it's going to be a heavy dose of him, and that's going to be the kicker. And then, heavy dose of McCaffrey and a heavy dose of defense in the face of your undersized quarterback.
Yeah, so I'm taking the 49ers, but I think it'll be close. I saw 7.5. I think Carolina covers. But on a side note, Did you see this Brandon Ayuk story that just recently came out?
That they voided his 2026
It's
guarantees.
guarantees. Yep. So, interesting. Interesting.
It's strange. You do all that to get the money. Why you preview the next game? I'm gonna pull up and see how, like, on Sports Track, how much he's already gotten paid. Because if he did a lot to get that money, he
Right.
held out. So if he got like 55 million at signing, I'm like, okay, maybe you're sick of it. You take 55, but if you only got like 28 or 30 when you signed, and you had $120 million deal, then I think you jammed yourself up. But I'm gonna double check that real quick while you set up the next game.
Yeah. So are you taking 49ers, I'm guessing?
I'm taking the 49ers.
Okay. All right. So that makes both of us. All right. So then, you got Chicago, who all of a sudden knows how to win games, welcoming in Pittsburgh. It sounds like we're probably going to see Mason Rudolph. Aaron Rodgers has the wrist injury, but he hasn't officially been ruled out the last that I saw. But I'm assuming that he's not playing. So, all right. This game could be a shootout, but in a different kind of way. Like, I think both teams are going to run for 150 plus on each other. Neither team can stop the run very well. Pittsburgh's linebackers are a disaster in coverage. So Caleb, if he can have time, can take advantage of that in the short passing game and not have to press the issue.
Yeah.
The Bears, to my point, they're giving up 5.2 yards per carry this season. So this is one of those things. The Bears play dangerous. Like we talked about Kansas City being 0-5 in these one-score games and everything. The Bears have lived on the edge, but they've been winning these games. And I think that helps with a young team like this. Like, it doesn't matter how you win per se, but after the last couple of seasons that the Bears have had, you just want to see a W anyway, anyhow. So all I say is, I don't care which quarterback is playing. I don't care if it's Rudolph. I don't care if it's Aaron Rodgers. I think the Bears are just a well-oiled machine right now. Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams seem to have had some kind of meeting of the minds that has gotten things where they need to be. I think Colston Loveland is going to have a good game here. So the question for me is going to be, can the Steelers get the pressure on Caleb to turn it into a game like that Colts game? If the answer to that question is no, then the Bears run away with this game. If the answer to that question is yes, Pittsburgh's still going to have to play near perfect to win. So I'm going to take the Bears here, and I'm going to go 26-13.
I think the Bears have a real offensive identity that is somewhat their team identity. We talk about all these teams. Miami, it's speed. Buffalo is Josh Allen. Houston right now is their defense. I think the defense of Pittsburgh has to contend with Chicago's excuse me, identity on offense. I believe Ben Johnson really relies heavily on the offense just being able to outscore their opponent. The defense does fine.
Mm-hmm.
The defense does fine, but after every game, it's about how the offense has to pull it out. Yes, defense has to make stops, but I think they are trying to build themselves around the offense, the greatest show on turf style offense. Bunch of wide receivers, tight ends getting involved, quarterback making plays all over the field. Caleb Williams is playing like a playmaker. We talked about, like, the beginning of the year, he had his first career rushing touchdown this season. I'm like, all that pressure you were under last year, you didn't scramble out there anytime you got to the red zone and maybe scored. I'm like, you're under pressure constantly. But this year seems the game, like they said, the game slowed down and he's playing great. The problem is I have no idea what you're going to get from Mason Rudolph. He's been a starter in this league. He's been a backup to Ben Roethlisberger. He was a starter in Tennessee. Like, he's back to Pittsburgh. he's carved out a nice little career, but I
Mhm.
have no idea if I put him on the field what I'm going to get. I don't know if he's a 250-yard passer. I don't know if he's a 65% completion guy. It's just I have no idea what I'm going to get from Mason Rudolph. And with that, I think that ends like I can't guarantee you positive drives. You know, every time most teams are going to punt once or twice a game. It happens. Or your drive's going to stall out, you're kicking a long field goal. I don't know how many times he can get you in a position where a field goal is viable. I believe more often than not, you're going to be punting in lieu of scoring touchdowns or attempting field goals. So
Yeah.
that in and of itself is enough for me to pick Chicago.
Okay. How bad do the Patriots beat the Bengals?
That might be an upset alert situation.
Okay.
Nah, Chase is out.
Yeah, Chase is out.
Chase is
But
out.
But New England's pass defense is where you would hit them. So, T. Higgins, you still got Yoshi Vash. They still have
Yoshi
weapons.
Vash. Yeah, they still have weapons, but the nuclear weapon would have made this like an interesting upset alert kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
I think Vrabel keeps them up, and there's been a lot of conversation about who the New England has beaten this year. It's a lot like Denver's schedule last year, where they ran off all those consecutive victories, but a lot of them were backup quarterbacks. I think one game was a win over Kirk Cousins, and there was a bunch of backups. Even the game they played against the Chiefs, Carson Wentz was the starter. So I think New England's schedule is looking a lot like that, but how they play on the field looks a lot like, personification of Mike Vrabel's play. He took his style and just kind of sprinkled it in all the players and was like, we're going to play tough, hard-nosed, smart, versatile football. He caught like 3 or 4 touchdowns in his career as well. So
Yep.
I think he has them operating as if they're playing any of the best teams in the NFL, and they treat every opponent like, you're here to take something from us. We're gonna really, drive it down your throat. Like, they had a good lead on Atlanta. Atlanta made a nice little run, come back, but they missed the extra point. But I just think that the way New England's playing, I think that carries over. And like I said, Cincinnati is a broken team. There's gonna be a lot of changes there.
Yeah, they're still talking about, hey, Joe Burrow's coming back. He's practicing. Leave that man alone. Let him sit down. But Cam Taylor-Britt, has got some Liz Frank, so he's gone. So, there's one defender that is already, going to be gone off of a poor defense. Cincinnati probably has the worst set of linebackers in the whole league. So all I say is run, Hendo, run. Saying Ramondre Stevenson will be back for this. Keyshawn Butte's practicing. So Cincinnati, real quick, I just got to say this. They're giving up 33.4 points per game and 418 yards per game. So no way I'm picking them. All right, so Jacksonville going out to the desert, fresh off their ass kicking of the Chargers. No Harvin Marison again. He's out. No DeMarcado. No Will Johnson. Down 2 offensive linemen. Give me Jacksonville.
Yeah, we'll take that.
All right. The Giants. What do the Giants get this week? The same thing that I've been saying all season. The Giants get the Lions coming off a loss. Pray for them. Jameis is starting again, it looks like. The Lions 3-1 at home this year. Victory margin 23 points per game. Giants giving up 5.5 yards per carry. The one defense that's worse than Chicago at that. Give me Detroit big. Bigly.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Bigly.
And you know what? It's going to shock us. It's going to end up being a game of the week.
I know, right? Give me Seattle covering the 13.5 against Tennessee. Because all I'm going to say is Mike McDonald game planning for Cam Ward. Poor besito. The rest. The rest of it. The Titans do get Jeffrey Simmons back, but yeah. Give me Seattle bigly. So, Mr. Logical, there's another game out here.
Yeah, no.
That has a 13.5 point spread. Justin Fields threw for more than double the yards he threw in the previous game, and he still got benched. So Tyrod Taylor taking over the Ravens. All right, you ready for the dad joke of the day?
Let's hear it.
The Ravens offense has said bye, bye, bye to being in sync.
God damn it. I thought I was expecting Edgar Allan Poe quote the Raven nevermore. The
No.
defense says nevermore.
No,
That
but
when Cleveland put Shador in last week, it's like the Baltimore defense looked like it was 2001. It looked unorthodox. The way they normally look is like, yo, why is it 9 guys at the line of scrimmage? And then everybody went. It just was like they just reverted.
Yeah,
back
I think they're going to do
this.
that this weekend too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No Garrett Wilson still. You know what I mean? So I don't know who Tyrod Taylor's going to throw the ball to. So the only hope,
turf, just throwing it to the turf.
The only hope is that Breece Hall goes off. That's the only hope. You know what I mean? So I don't know if the Ravens cover. I think I'm going to take the Jets to cover.
13 and a half in an NFL game. With Tyrod Taylor,
he's not going to do stupid things.
He's not going to throw a pick six.
Right.
He's not going to fumble on a sack. He's not going to try to keep a play alive that's dead. You're just going to be punting the ball a lot. And you're going to pin Baltimore inside the 25 quite often, and they're just going to have to like move the ball down the field. It's going to take a lot of time. I don't think it's going to be a situation where it rains and pours. I don't know why you bench Justin Fields. I don't know what you get out of it unless you're buying into the pressure that you're holding players accountable. You can have a bad game. Did his game follow your game plan? If that's what you're trying to do, then it's like it's not like
I can't imagine that you put your quarterback out there and tell him to do the things that Justin Fields does.
But in the same sense, like, are you putting your receivers out there that they're gonna put your team in position to do? But I don't know. I just don't feel like. I don't know if the Jets are in position to start blaming like the players.
Yeah,
I think it's like, yeah, you organizationally, you guys are kind of discombobulated. But yeah, so I mean, what's their record? 1 and something or 2 and something?
They're 2 and 8. Yeah, so I think this is going to be a low scoring game. So give me the Ravens. Here it comes, the crazy score, 20-12.
Nah. I'll take the Ravens 27-13.
You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, we got to talk about it, Mr. Logical. Mm-hmm. You ready for the stat of the day? The Cleveland Browns have not had a first-time starting quarterback win a game since 1995. That spans 17 quarterbacks. So that's not one of those, it's only happened twice or it only happened 3 times. 1995, 17 quarterbacks have lost their first start for the Cleveland Browns. So, okay, they're going out to Vegas. You know, and how fitting for all you people out there that think that sports is rigged, how fitting is it that Shador gets his first start in Vegas? You know,
listen, I love Vegas. I love that city.
Ashton Genty on the season, 3.8 yards per carry. You know, the Browns, second in the NFL in total yards allowed. You know, Geno Smith lead the league in interceptions with 13. Myles Garrett leads the league in sacks. Shador Sanders, I believe, can come out here and go 13 for 33 for 62 yards, and the Browns will win this game.
21-6.
They will win this game. So I'm going to take the
2
Browns.
scores and a punt return touchdown.
I'm taking the Browns 10-9.
All right. That sounds ridiculously accurate. I'm going to check on something because I think there's an event in Vegas this weekend. Okay, so this might not bode well for the social media version of Shador that, you know, we see. the F1 Grand Prix is this weekend in Vegas. And anytime there's an event in Vegas, no matter what it is, if they had big tennis tournaments or if they had the All-Star game, whatever it is, the clubs, the bars, the hotels are throwing big ass expensive parties. I mean parties where it's like $30,000 a bottle kind of parties, ridiculous prices. Like they do it for like EDM shows. So if he goes out there on business and just says, "Hey, I'm here to work," but if they get out there and it's, "Hey, Shador, for your Twitch stream or for this brand deal, you got to go here and hold up this can of Monster," or whatever it is, like whatever, because I know they're working a lot of deals, just because they're capitalized off his popularity. That can get you out and about. And Vegas isn't like a big city, but it takes a long time to get around, and you can get stuck in these casinos and you can't see the light. Like you're just in there. It's a fun environment. So when you're in your early 20s and you're probably one of the most popular quarterbacks in the NFL, that can be tough. But if he goes there and whatever hotel they stay in, he checks in and he locks in and he only leaves and talks to Stefanski or Tommy Reese, he'll be good to go. But he's going to struggle, I imagine. But, I mean, it's a great game to start with. You just got all you have to do is worry about
against that defense,
Just where's 98? Can we get a chip? Can we get a slide? Can we get a double team? I can find Judy and Isaiah Bond and Njoku on the other side. If you keep this guy off of me, and if he steps up in the pocket and throws the ball, you're not going to beat any NFL player, no matter what their size is, with you going backwards. A 298-pound defensive tackle or 275-pound defensive end is going to chase you down if you're going backwards. So just if he steps up and just says, "Hey, all I got is this flat route to Quinshawn," throw it to him. And all I have is just drag the Judy, throw it.
In all things considered, he was inches away from throwing the pass that puts the game in overtime, last week. So Shador, all I got to say to you is all week, these people on social media have been on your ass. And you know what that means? It's personal. So closing
I'm
it out.
Cleveland. I'm gonna ride with my guy Dion and his offspring.
Closing it out. The Falcons going to the House of Horrors.
I didn't know I didn't think we were going to discuss JV football tonight.
Yes, we are. Oh, yes, we are. If I got to watch these Seminoles, we're going to talk about these Falcons. You know what I mean? Tyler Shuck with a bye week to prepare. Kellen Moore is going through the Falcons defense, trying to find all the sweet spots. Michael Penix, get well soon. Third ACL type of injury. I don't know. Kirk Cousins is back, but no Drake London. Mr. Logical. What happens in the Big Easy?
I don't know, but I'm watching the New Orleans Dallas halftime show, and it's a grown man who just put his whole body through a tennis racket. So that's weird. But yeah, it's strange. It's strange to be in this position with the Falcons and the Saints, especially considering what I said in the preseason and the fans on TikTok coming at me. I still stand by my word that they're not a serious franchise. They're just, Atlanta's showing themselves to just be, they're lacking as well.
Like the Falcons are the Saints' alter ego.
Yeah, I think we get to Tyler. I think we create a couple more turnovers. And I mean, for the love of God, install some I formation run plays and pass plays this week, because you have Kirk Cousins and he does play well from under center. Install some real play action to where you can get Mooney open. It's going to be tough. Get some real two-back formations in there, because what they'll have Bijan and Algier in the game. And then it's like, we'll float Bijan out into the flat, and it's like, now that gives it all away. Either you go do a little toss or a little handoff to the left to Algier, or are you going to throw it straight out to Bijan? Like it's not that creative.
Like you can
So
still have him in the backfield and run a route.
Yeah, you can have him run the Texas route from there, where it's like he's one-on-one with a linebacker or an option route. Like you can still get him the ball over here, but just moving him over and saying, "Hey, Bijan's
look
going
where
from here to
Bijan
here,
is,"
and we're gonna have this little fake to Algier. We're gonna just you could do this better. So get an I formation, get on the center, get play action, and then when you have the two backs, make them both threats. If you leave them both next to Kirk Cousins, they are equally viable threats. But if you float one out, it's like now we just got to flow more people than blockers. Mm-hmm. You're going to have backup wide receivers out there trying to make those blocks. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a game a lot like last week where it's 24-20, something like that. I think we get through with the pass rush, and not necessarily pass rush. The blitzing gets to the rookie.
It's odd too because Kirk Cousins last year threw 73 passes against the Saints, no touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, he was in that bad streak. He threw the 5 touchdowns against Tampa, including like the slant to Kadero Hodge to win the game in overtime in October last year. Because I was at a concert and I was watching the game on my phone. It was like a Thursday night game. And then from that point on, it was like 5 games where he just was like completely ineffective.
And it still doesn't look like he recovered.
Once again, you have the tape of the Miami game where it's like, hey, we don't need to sit him in the same spot as Penix because Penix doesn't, for some reason, I don't know why you haven't have your quarterback in 2 years that you had him learn how to make plays from under center, or like he's in the pistol or shotgun the whole time. It's like it's just so elementary how poorly they are constructed. But just out of faith in the fact I can't pick the Saints.
Well, you know what? That's great because you don't have to pick the Saints. I'll do it for you. All right. So now
last day of this podcast. I'm joking.
It's that time of the day, that time of the week. It is upset alert. So here we go. You know what I'm saying? Nebraska plus 10.5 at Penn State. Kentucky plus 9.5 at Vanderbilt. I want Cincinnati on the money line against those dirty Cougars of BYU. Give me Kansas plus 3.5 against Iowa State. I want TCU on the money line at Houston. Give me Temple plus 9.5 against Tulane. Give me UTSA, go Roadrunners, 2-1-0 right behind me. You know what I'm saying? On the money line against East Carolina. I got some FCS for you. Go Grizzlies. Tomorrow is the Brawl of the Wild. Montana and Montana State. Go Grizz. And then, my last upset.
I'm assuming that's Montana, right?
Yeah, Montana, yep. Give me Arkansas. Now, depending on where you're looking, you can get it for either 8.5 or 10.5. But give me Arkansas to cover against Texas. Weirdest stat I've ever heard, Mr. Logical. I got this one from Tom Fernelli from the Cover 3 podcast. Arkansas this year is 2-8. Their point differential is plus 18 because they lost that 43-point game to Notre Dame. So how does this work?
Wait, hold on. What?
They're plus 18 in the point differential. That includes losing a 43-point loss to Notre Dame.
How the hell do they have 2 wins?
And
what was the score in the wins?
They're 2-8.
Did they play like a JUCO and go 77-0 or something?
So Arkansas this season, they started off the year You know what I'm saying? As soon as my computer followed. They started off the year with a 52-7 win against Alabama A&M.
Okay.
Then they beat Arkansas State 56-14. They lost at Ole Miss by 6. They lost at Memphis by 1. Then you had your 43-point loss to Notre Dame. They lost at Tennessee by 3. Lost at home to A&M by 3. Lost to Auburn by 9. Lost to Mississippi State at home by 3. And last week they lost to LSU by 1.
Yeah, those early games really really ramped up there.
So I say all that to say, give me Arkansas to cover against Texas. And of course, you know, we talked about this in the preseason. If it's one thing that Arkansas hates, it's Texas. If it's one thing they hate more than they love themselves, it's Texas. You know what I'm saying? So Bobby Petrino, you told me earlier, right? Unfinished business or whatever the quote was.
Yes.
Here you are. It's right in front of you. And then I want the over Delaware and Wake Forest 51.5. I want the over in that game. You know what I'm saying? So there you go. And then, of course, Mr. Logical, we got a Pac-12 Classic on our hands. Up in Autzen Stadium, the USC Trojangelis, playoffs on the line. This is an elimination game, in my opinion. If USC wins this game, they just got UCLA in front of them, and I think they get in. If Oregon wins this game, even if they lose to Washington next week, they're in. So who's going to get it?
I like Dan Lanning. I just trust him. I just trust him in big games more than I trust Lincoln Riley. I think he's been in more of them. His teams perform better in more of them. I think as a team they're just more consistent, mainly because he's at the helm. So I'll take Oregon. I do like USC. I like their clawback. Like I said, we talk about a lot of teams, a lot of names, a lot of sports where it's good that, you know, when the Cowboys are good, it's good when the Lakers are good, it's good when the Knicks are good, it's good when Bama's good, it's good when it's, you know, college football is really good, but one of the Florida teams is really good just because they're such a talent-rich, you know, state that they're like blockbuster good. Like that Tim Tebow Florida Gators run, like that was box office every single week. USC was like that. A lot of people don't remember like that time back when Matt Leinart and Lindell White and Reggie Bush were all, you know, allegedly getting paid. That was like a heroic like effort and just sports. Like it just was like, it was a time to be had. So when USC is good, it's a great time for college football. I think that Oregon has always been consistently good and they've been the competitive USC for years. And I think Dan Lanning just kind of handles these big moments better than Lincoln Riley.
All right, so indulge me for a second, Mr. Logical. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Montana State, Oklahoma State, Northwestern, Oregon State, Penn State, Indiana, Rutgers, Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota.
It's Oregon's schedule.
I don't give a damn that Oregon has the number one pass defense, because after I said all that, who was supposed to throw on them? You know what I'm saying? So that's step number one here.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So this is where the stats can be misleading, right? They did hold Fernando Mendoza to 199 yards in the the loss against Indiana. But so what? Look at the rest of that schedule. I'm supposed to buy Iowa and Minnesota and an FCS team and Oklahoma State as the proof of how great your pass defense is. And then I got Makai Lemon and I got Lane over here, and I can run the football. I think people are caught up in USC and looking at USC as their finesse. You know, they can't get physical. You know, now I will say, USC under Lincoln Riley, 1-7 on the road against ranked teams. You know what I'm saying? 0-4 against top 10 teams. They struggle on the road. They went and lost to Illinois on the road earlier this year.
Excuse me.
But USC showed their physicality when they whooped up on Michigan. This is the problem, though. So the same way I just went down Oregon's schedule, I look at USC's schedule, and I look at one game in particular that we talked about the other day. They played Notre Dame a couple of weeks ago. And you know what happened? Jeremiah Love ran for 228 yards. Jadarian Price added 87 yards. So, yes, Notre Dame ran for 300 yards on USC. My question for this game is Oregon going to have Decorian Moore? He's missed the last couple of games. One of the best receivers in the country, true freshman. Kenny Sadiq, the tight end, came back last week. But at the end of the day, Mr. Logical, USC is not Iowa. They are not Minnesota. They are not Northwestern or any of those other candy-ass jabroni teams that I just named. Give me the Trojans. Fight on, USC.
Yeah, that was a heart pick.
You know what I'm saying? No, that was also a Dan Lanning in big games is a little bit overrated. I remember him losing 3 of them big games to Washington. I remember him in the Rose Bowl last year getting 42-14 against Ohio State.
Yeah, that team had a lot of dudes that are still doing that in the NFL too.
Yeah, USC will too. How about that?
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, so then we take it over.
Here, real quick, breaking news.
Okay.
Brooklyn just beat Boston in Boston for this NBA Cup situation. I know you love the floors.
Did Jaylen Brown wipe any hair on any black ice on anybody?
We'll have to do the investigation later.
All right. So then we taking it off the Pac-12. Let's go to the old Big 12 for a second. Mizzou going into Gaylord Memorial Stadium in Norman, Oklahoma. Mr. Logical, here's the funny stat of the day.
All right.
So Missouri has not won in Norman since 2011. Or, they haven't played in Norman, since 2011. So you're going to hear people say, Missouri hasn't won at Oklahoma since 1966. Now, let me get serious. Let me get serious for a second. So Jeremiah Love, I brought him up a couple of minutes ago. He's been getting some Heisman love. You know what's crazy about that? Is that Missouri actually has the nation's leading rusher. And, and he's a guy that I talked about in our SEC preview. Ahmad Hardy coming in from UL Monroe, who I'm going to see against Texas State tomorrow, going up to San Marcos. But anyway, So these are the top 2 defenses in the SEC. Last week, Ahmad Hardy ran for 300 yards against Mississippi State, 25 carries, 300 yards. He ain't running for 300 on Oklahoma. He's probably not going to run for 100 on Oklahoma. So the word on the street is Bo Pribula. Remember, he got hurt against Vandy. Word on the street is he might play. But after that injury that he suffered against Vandy, I don't know if that's a positive, because what makes him and makes that offense are his legs. And the last time we saw his legs, they were in an air cast. So now you're going up to Norman, and if he doesn't play, you got a freshman quarterback playing. So the only thing that you look out for here is Oklahoma smelling themselves after that win in Tuscaloosa last week. The good news is, even if they do, we're talking about Brent Venables against an inexperienced quarterback, either way it goes.
Yeah, the throwing the ball is going to be tough. I was torn between, like the run game, because Alabama's run game, I felt like could have been more effective, like I talked about it in our wrap-up, if the guys were just like cut backside. It just felt like the play was supposed to go to this hole, this gap, this is the play, and the running backs just ran into it a couple times. The guy, I think it was like Hill or somebody, he did bounce it and get a cutback. He had a couple of good runs, but it wasn't consistent enough. They ran on first down and was like 2nd and 7 after that, 2nd and 8 a lot of times. I just feel like if you could take advantage, because Oklahoma's offense didn't really move the ball that much. They had the pick six, and then they had the Mateer, 20 or 30-yard touchdown run. And that was pretty much all of their real offense. A couple more field goal kicks here and there. Then you had the Bama kicker yelling at the long snapper, which I'd never seen before. Like, you shanked the shit out of that. Like, you had plenty of time. Like, you seen it was high. Slow down your mechanics and kick a simple chip shot field goal. But a rookie quarterback against a defensive-minded head coach with the defense that has players, that has balls, that just, they did essentially shut down Alabama's offense last week. I think that'd be tough. And it's at home. I want to pick the upset, but you got a quarterback. If your starter comes back, he's coming back off of an ankle injury. Like, say, he left the field in the air cast. I don't know how effective he can be. And then, it has to take you need a warm-up game to trust it. And I don't know what the percentage you're going at practice during the week. I don't know if you're going 100%. And
this ain't the warm-up game against this defense.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you're going 100% at practice or you've been going 75 for a couple of weeks and now so just too many questions from the quarterback position. So I would give Oklahoma the edge. Like I said, when it boils down to it, picking the home team in these spots tends to be a good move. And I think the home team with the better defense playing against a freshman quarterback, you got to go OU.
Yeah, give me
Boomer Sooner.
Give me Mizzou to cover the 6.5. Give me the under 42.5. So I'm taking Oklahoma 19-14. So then, saying the ACC title hopes are on the line. Georgia Tech wins, they're in. If not, it opens the door for some chaos, depending on what happens down at Gerald Ford Stadium. SMU and Louisville playing down there. Depending on what happens across the ACC, and maybe, Miami's not getting there, but, whatever. Yeah. But so Pitt.
A lot of dominoes and chips to fall and all the
right.
cliche statements.
Yep. You got Virginia and Virginia Tech next week. So we talked about this, a couple of weeks ago. Pitt holds all the cards here. They got Georgia Tech this week and they get Miami coming in next week. If they win both of those games, they're in the ACC championship game. So last week we talked about Pat Narduzzi's comments. Notre Dame doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we lose 100-10. We just got to win these 2 ACC games. Well, here's the question, Mr. Logical. 1, did you poison your team by saying that? Or
Absolutely.
2, okay, because I was going to say, or could that actually work where you go, we're focused on this now?
No, because you need to be on all the time. Like, your team needs to be ready to win every game, because I know say they didn't win the ACC, but you have that win over Notre Dame. That's a better bowl game. That's more you knock off a top 10 team in the country. That's more visibility on your program. That's recruiting. It's bigger than just, we won the ACC and we went into the 12-team playoffs with 3 losses. It's like, it doesn't have the same, because it's going to look like you backdoored your way in just because you were ACC champs. But if you're an ACC team that knocked off a top-ranked team, then you win the ACC, I think it just bodes better for your team confidence. I think it might have been some guys who lost their confidence last week. Might have been some guys who were in position to make tackles, blue tackles, and now maybe you're cussing them out at practice this week. In the film room. Losing, yes, you can learn a lot from that. But, especially when you go into the game with the mindset of, it doesn't matter if we win or lose. It's like, what the fuck am I out here then? Yeah, it just, I get it that wins and losses don't dictate, your life. But if we're going to prepare all week to play a football
I don't
game,
know, bro. If
I should
Florida
go into
State-
that game on Saturday ready to win. I shouldn't hear my coach on Thursday say, "That's no big deal." Because if I'm late, what if I'm late to a meeting and you want to bench me for a quarter? Like, word, I thought it was no big deal. I thought all we gotta do was win ACC. What happened to that? Like, I just
Nah,
think it's
I don't
such
know,
bad
bro. If
precedent.
Florida State keep playing like this, it might ruin my whole weekend.
I mean,
You know?
and it does.
But
Won't
no,
ruin your life.
I think Haynes King is going to run all over Pitt. I know they have the second best rushing defense in the country, but we saw what Jeremiah Love did to them last week. You know, lots of tackles for losses. We got to remember, Pitt is starting a freshman quarterback. No matter how good he's been, he is a freshman quarterback, and he's not a freshman quarterback in the sense of, say, like, this is freshman Lamar Jackson that's going to turn up field on you, or Michael Vick that can get a loose for a 60-yard run at any given point. You know, say he's a good quarterback. I think Pitt's defense is going to keep this close. I saw the spread, Georgia Tech by 2.5. That might not be that far off. I do think that Pitt can keep it close because Georgia Tech's defense leaves a lot to be desired. Their head coach, Brent Key this week. I was about to say Brent Pry. Brent Key was talking about how all he sees is missing assignments. And one of my favorite moments from last weekend was after the game, the reporter walks up to him. They pull out the win against Boston College. And she goes, "Coach, what happens out there?" And he goes, "We won." And she's like, because he was focused. He knows outside of this game, you know, winning in, but you got Georgia next week too.
Yes.
So he is on a mission to get this team right.
I gotta keep my team ready week in and week out. This is a collision sport. This is a violent sport. I need people's heads in the game and focused on task at hand, not being willing to get, slacked by 22 points and not give a fuck when you get back to the locker room.
Yes. And on top of that, saying, like, I like to look at head coaches, were they players? What position did they play? All that kind of stuff like that. Say he got that Dan Campbell in him. He's an offensive lineman. But even better than that, he went to Georgia Tech. So he's not going to let Georgia Tech come out flat in a game like this, where they haven't won the ACC in years. Like, it's right in front of them. I think Georgia Tech is going to win the game. I think it is going to be close. I do think that it's going to be inside a touchdown. I do think it's going to be high scoring. So I think you could be looking at something along the lines of 33-28. And this is big. They haven't won the ACC since 2009. So let's get it.
Yeah.
All right.
Me, how my relationship with Mr. Narduzzi is. So
yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and call it 34-14.
All right. So then we'll go around the nation real quick before we get out of here. So a couple of quick notes before we get into the main thing. James Madison was not ranked by the College Football Playoff Committee. James Madison is not going out to the Palouse, but they do have Washington State coming in tomorrow. 13.5-point favorites are the Dukes. Now, the reason why this is important, because North Texas beat Washington State earlier this year, 59-10. But Washington State went to Ole Miss and lost by 3. They went to UVA and lost by a score. So this is a moment where James Madison can kick some ass and say, hey,
gotta win by 40.
Yeah, but this is a team that went into Ole Miss, who's going to be in the playoff, and lost a 3-point game. So if we whoop them,
you got to give us some consideration.
Put us in that ranking. Then you got, I already talked about Arkansas, Texas. So, Mr. Logical, one of my favorite things to do every single week is to ask you, what's that line? So I got Texas A&M, the number 3 team in the country.
Okay.
Playing against a 1-10 Sanford team from FCS. What's that line?
44.5.
The line, Mr. Logical, is 55.5. And then last one.
That's an easy bet. That's an easy bet because it's like,
hey, you can win 60-3.
Yeah, but you got to call the dogs off. You're gonna have, as just morally and ethically as a coach, if you come out of halftime at some point in the third quarter, you're up 49-3, 42-0, 45-0, something like that. You gotta pull everybody and just put in like senior walk-ons. Like you gotta pull such of your 22 starters and maybe your 30 to 32 guys that really get a lot of significant playing time. At least 18 to 20 of them are just not going back out on the field.
Right.
You might put your offensive line back out there for protection, but even then, you're probably putting a whole second. So if you're up 40 something, so I think you can't win by 55.5.
All right. So yeah, because
I'm making that bet. I'm gonna see. I might have to
because
download DraftKings again.
You can't win by 55.5 because
I'm saying, you can't win by 50 points.
All right.
Like it has to be like you got to put some guys in there and like they got to score somehow.
All right, so we got Bama against FCS Eastern Illinois. What's that line?
What's Eastern Illinois' record?
Let's see here.
If you have it off the top of your head.
All right, so Eastern Illinois, the Panthers this year. As soon as I can find my MWFC here, they're not in that conference. I thought they were.
We got a little Jimmy Garoppolo alma mater.
Let's see. Eastern Illinois this season is 3-8.
I'm a 42.5.
Mr. Logical, that line is 50.5.
Why even play these games?
You got to get that warm up. The Iron Bowl is next week. And then, of course, Georgia, even though they are playing an FBS team, they're playing one of the worst ones in Charlotte. Georgia by 43.5 is the line there. So, Mr. Logical, Colorado has decided that they're going to play Juju tomorrow. So they're going to effectively burn his red shirt. Down in Jordan-Hare, Auburn is going to start freshman Deuce Knight. They're favored by 28 over Mercer. I got my eye on that. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see what happens. But let's get to it. So the word on the street, Mr. Logical, is that by the end of the week, so next week, LSU plans to finalize an offer to Lane Kiffin. Word on the street from Ole Miss's AD is, hey, we expect to know something about Lane Kiffin's status after the Egg Bowl. The Egg Bowl is on Friday, so the day after Thanksgiving. This is the question. I've heard some things throughout the grapevine that if Lane Kiffin does decide to leave, it could drop Ole Miss's seeding in the playoff. Yay or nay?
Man, I don't know. I really don't. I don't understand how all of these pundits have so much to say about the transfer portal and guys sitting out and guys jumping ship, but then they just crave it when one coach can go to another school and they love it in conference, whatever the case may be. I personally think that Lane Kiffin could leverage this and get Ole Miss to get whatever the money looks like for LSU. I imagine Ole Miss is on that level. So if LSU has just go base numbers, if they have a $10 million NIL fund, I'm sure Ole Miss can match that. If they're going to pay Lane Kiffin $12.5 million a year in Baton Rouge, I'm pretty sure they can match that in Ole Miss. The talent pool, the recruiting, the history, the alumni, I think it's all on par. I don't understand why he would go to LSU, considering that it's not as if he delivered a championship to Ole Miss. And he's like, hey, now I'm on the bigger and better things. It's like you're making a lateral move. I don't see the benefit of it unless it's just there's underlining benefits and perks of just coaching the LSU that he just can't get at Ole Miss. Like, hey, you're the head coach of LSU. You have a contract. You have a private jet anytime you want, or you have this house that the school pays for, or your kids get this private school. Like whatever. Like if there's like ancillary perks that come along with being an LSU coach, but as far as team for team, it's the same to me. It's just like I think you can build the high quality team in Ole Miss. I think you build the same team at LSU. So I don't understand the move unless maybe he's just sick of the AD. But we saw how like the governor got involved in LSU. I would just avoid that kind of micromanagement. Just to essentially coach the same type of school.
Okay.
So that's my position on it. I just don't know what LSU could offer him that Ole Miss couldn't.
Well, I think it's like for me, I think it's the whole king of the like obviously like Ole Miss is the big brand in Mississippi.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they still have Mississippi State, I guess at equal footing, SEC team, whatever, whereas LSU is the premier program of
They're
Louisiana.
still third.
And I know that you
Georgia, Alabama's 1-2 in the SEC. Ole Miss and LSU are 3-4.
And then you talk about the culture and the recruiting down there and all that kind of stuff like that. For me personally, I think that if I was going to leave, I would take Florida over LSU if it were me. But at the same time, I just don't see the need to leave. But when it comes to the playoff, I think you absolutely have to take Ole Miss's seed into consideration if Lane Kiffin leaves. Like we saw this with Jordan Travis and the injury. Florida State didn't get in at all. So if your head coach is not there, that's been there all year long, you're not the same team. Now, with that being said, if I'm Ole Miss, if I'm the AD, I'm done with all of this. Like, look, Lane, where are you leaning? Give me an idea. You ain't got to tell me what your full decision is. Is there a chance that you could leave? If so, I'll make the decision for you. You can't coach the Egg Bowl next week. Because the first time that I do put a team on the field without you can't be the playoff. You know what I mean? And on
or
top
if you
of that,
put him out there with the coach, then the college football consideration will be like, well, this guy dominated the Egg Bowl.
Or what if, and this is one of those, like, obviously we talked about this the other day, crazy scenario. What if Texas beats A&M? What if Auburn beats Bama? My first game without you can't be the SEC title game. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot at stake here. You know what I mean? And that's just looking at it selfishly. Now, I don't say that publicly or whatever the case may be, but I'm talking to Lane like, hey, look, these kids played for you all year. You know what I mean? If you're not going to be here, then just let us know so we can move on and try to preserve whatever's left.
That's the part that bugs me the most is like, it's completely acceptable for some reason for these coaches to move in the middle of bowl season, but yet we're going to have the guys who believe they're top 15 picks in next year's NFL draft not playing conference championship games and not playing bowl games, and there's going to be pundits who come on TV and say they're not team players.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to get
coach
into,
can leave to go to the next state over. It's like it's a lateral move, literally and figuratively. And you could just get the same players that were going to go to LSU and have them come 300 miles northeast to Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just, that's just.
So according to WBRZ, LSU is potentially going to offer Lane Kiffin close to $90 million and $25 million annually towards the roster. So we'll see about that. But all right, now with that being said, if you're a player that's been at Ole Miss all year, Lane Kiffin leaves.
Like
you're not going to not play in the playoffs, right?
Depends if you get in. If you get into CFP, you play.
They're in.
But if they say without the head coach, we're gonna move somebody else in, like I said, the committee can make up their own rules on the fly.
You think that there's a possibility that if, say, hypothetically, Ole Miss loses the Egg Bowl next week and Lane Kiffin leaves, you think that there's a possibility that the committee could say, hey, this ain't the same team?
If Lane Kiffin leaves, I think they could say it if they wanted to.
Okay.
Win or lose. I think they could. It would be tough.
No,
I think it would. I think it would set a. I don't want to say a bad precedent. I kind of would like it.
I want to see it play out,
because if they do, then at least the following years, coaches won't leave. It's like you coach these guys, you recruited them, you got them out of the portal, you travel the country with them, you played football. Your livelihood is tied to their success. You told their parents you're going to turn them into men. And then they find out that if you leave after the last, official regular season game, it could cost them a shot at a national championship. I think that would probably entice coaches to stay. But I don't know. I think the grading scale for coaches and the outrage for coaches is completely different than it is for players. And I just feel like the Ole Miss, LSU, Lane Kiffin, because let's keep it a buck. It's not like he's won. It wasn't like he won a national championship or SEC championship at Ole Miss.
He ain't won nothing nowhere. Well, I guess, he was on Pete Carroll's staff, but, but as the head coach.
As the head coach, yeah.
And he won at Bama, he won at Bama, but, again, not the head coach. I think it sets a dangerous precedent. And like I said, I wonder, though, because if I'm a player that, especially a dude that transferred to Ole Miss this year because I wanted to play for him, and he just leaves. I understand it's an opportunity. I understand it's money, but we talking about kids. You know what I mean?
Unless he comes to you and says, "Hey, I got $1 million for you to follow me to LSU," then I think all of that, loyalty goes out the window. And they're down in Baton Rouge.
It's hard for me to think
crawfish and etouffee.
It's hard for me to think, though, that you just leave in the middle of a national title run. It's not like they're 8-4 and they're going to the Holiday Bowl.
We talk about Lincoln Riley. If they win that game in Oklahoma, they're in.
Mm-hmm.
And they lost, and he was on the plane the next day. So I'm pretty sure it doesn't take that long to draft up a flight plan to get a private jet.
But I don't think he blew the game, though. I don't think he intentionally lost the game.
But he was gone the next day.
I know.
So it's even if he didn't blow the game, he was literally prepared to leave in a day. Right now, it is 10:23. If you and I get off this podcast and we check the comments and it's this podcast sucks, and somebody else is like, yo, you can come work our podcast, and I'm on a plane tomorrow afternoon and I'm doing another podcast next week, is yo, dog, that's all it took? It took one day and we wrap this up and you don't tell me peace or nothing. It's you just out. you doing another podcast with some more veterans in Minnesota, some shit like what the hell happened? So it's just weird to me that happens, but they allow it. And the NCAA allows it because ultimately it's about brands, faces, deals, money, money, money. And as long as the money is flowing, the morals go out the window, the allegiance go out the window, the promises go out the window, and it's just apologies and maybe there's some monetary benefits to kind of boost up that apology. I'm sorry I'm leaving, but you come to LSU and get your $1.5 million.
Okay. All right. Well, on that note, y'all, we will be back on Tuesday, with some weekend reactions, some around the association, check out who's playing and who's not, but he is the world famous, world renowned, cool, calm, and collected, born in Texas, raised in VA, representing everything New Jerusalem all the way down to the New Jersey Devil itself.
Let's go, Rutgers. Make a game of it.
He is Mr. Logical. Don't bring feelings to a fact fight.
Don't do it.
And then, of course, down here in the Alamo, it's your unorthodox statistician going left so much you thought I was southpaw. Even I had to duck when I saw Anthony Joshua next to Jake Paul.
Yo.
Woo!
Ridiculous. I didn't think it was that much of a difference.
You know what I'm saying? I
thought Jake Paul was like 6 foot.
No, he ain't.
He is
he
not.
Ain't. That's like Andre the Giant looking at Hulk Hogan back in the day. You know what I'm saying?
It's comically bad how much bigger he is.
But I do believe in Joe Hendry. I am 2'5". This is Sports Reports' Order. I would never, ever stunt on New Orleans food, ever. You know what I'm saying? I need to make a trip down to Cafe Florida Lee to get them grits because it's the only place that I ever had grits like that in my life. You know what I'm saying? So just saying, like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things, do all the good things. We are everywhere that you get your podcasts. Tell your friends about us. Let's get it. We love y'all so much. See you in a few days.
We run this town, real talk only. No chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout.
It's about to go down.
Hey!